Well, it's a great day. It's the middle of the week, and I hope you're having a great time wherever you live. And we're having it here in Virginia Beach, the garden spot of America, you know. We'll say that just something so the Chamber of Commerce will love us.
We're not the Garden State, though.
No, not the Garden State. Absolutely not. The Garden State is anything but a garden if you lived in New Jersey. But anyhow, President Trump wants to pull out of the Iran nuclear deal, but he's still willing to talk about changing it if it will really stop Iran from building nuclear weapons. So he says, okay, fix it and I'll leave it alone. Don't fix it and I'm out. Wendy?
The president has been talking about a new version of the Iran deal with French President Macron as the White House hosted the first state dinner of the Trump presidency. Ben Kennedy brings us that story from Washington.
France's President Emmanuel Macron received a very warm welcome from his friend and ally, President Donald Trump. The two are dealing with trade, ISIS and security, and even issues they don't agree on, like the Iran nuclear deal.
If Iran threatens us in any way, they will pay a price like few countries have ever paid.
A warning for Iran as President Trump met with his French counterpart to tackle a deal meant to keep the Persian country from developing nuclear weapons.
It's a bad deal. It's a bad structure. It's falling down. Should have never, ever been made.
Trump argues that the deal failed to address Iran's ballistic missile program, and there are still concerns about Iran's activities in Syria and Yemen. Macron agreed that he too didn't like the deal, but fears the consequences if the U.S. pulls out.
What we have to work on, obviously, with Iran and the different parties in the region, the P5 and our allies, is to find a fair deal where we can fix the overall situation.
We will have a strong blockage to the Mediterranean, which to me is very important, because if we don't, you have Iran going right to the Mediterranean.
European leaders have agreed with Trump to address both Iran's troublemaking and its missile program. Trouble in Syria prompted Trump to praise Macron for joining the strike after the Assad government's recent chemical weapons attack on its own citizens. The talk then turned to climate change, another topic the two leaders don't agree on. Despite their differences, the two embraced during a joint press conference and remain close friends.
I like him a lot.
It showed at a glitzy White House state dinner where Trump wrapped up the first state visit since he took office. The May 12th deadline looms for the Iran nuclear deal and President Trump's decision on whether or not the agreement has been improved, or if the U.S., quite frankly, will basically withdraw from it. Ben Kennedy, CBN News, Washington.
There's another development today that doesn't look too good for the president. A federal judge has said that, look, he's got to fix DACA or he's only got so many months to do it or else. I don't understand why judges are trying to rewrite foreign policy. But Trump said, look, according to what the law says, DACA is dead. I like DACA. And he said, I'm asked for the Congress to rework it to make it work. But the Congress didn't move and say a federal judge is now ordering the president to do something. I don't think judges should do that. I think the federal judiciary has overstepped its bounds for centuries, certainly for decades, and I'm not in favor of it because I think these are non-elected people who are not responsible, shouldn't be responsible for foreign policy. Anyhow, in other news, Republicans have won a closely watched special election in Arizona. John Jessup has that.
Thanks, Pat. Republican Debbie Lesko won the special congressional election in that state's 8th district. But as Mark Martin reports, it was a narrow victory.
And I would like to formally introduce you and have you make welcome our new Congresswoman.
Former Arizona Governor Jan Brewer announced the victory by Republican and former member of the State House and Senate Debbie Lesko in Arizona's 8th congressional district.
Life takes us on journeys, and this is an incredible journey. And I want to promise you that I am going to continue to work hard for the people in my district and continue to represent you with the values that have made our nation great.
President Trump tweeted in support of Lesko, saying, Arizona, please get out today and vote Debbie Lesko for Congress in Arizona 08. Strong on border, immigration, and crime. Great on the military. Time is ticking down. Get out and vote today. We need Debbie in Congress. The margin of victory for the U.S. House seat special election was much closer than the GOP wanted. Early returns showed Lesko winning by around 5 percentage points in what the Associated Press described as the reddest of districts in a red state. Trump won it by 21 percentage points in the 2016 presidential election. Lesko defeated Dr. Hiro Tipernini, a former emergency room physician and Democratic political newcomer.
We're going to continue to fight for all of these things. For health care, for education, protecting our seniors, protecting our dreamers, keeping our communities safe, and making sure that we have economic growth.
Tipernini said she plans to run in November's general election. Lesko replaces former Republican Congressman Trent Franks, who stepped down in December amid sexual misconduct allegations. National Republican groups spent more than $500,000 in the race in the suburban Phoenix district. National Democratic groups did not put money into the race. Republican political consultant Chuck Coughlin said Lesko's margin of victory was not a good sign for Republicans in the November midterms. Brewers said the GOP needs to make changes if they want to keep this district and other seats. But for now, the night belonged to Lesko.
All I can say is, wow, this is really something. I'm going to be a congresswoman. Woo-hoo!
Mark Martin, CBN News.
Thanks, Mark. China has threatened to put tariffs on American farm products in retaliation for the president's tariffs on Chinese steel and aluminum. That threat has some farmers feeling uneasy as they prepare for the growing season. But Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue tells Jennifer Wishon he's working on a plan to bail them out if China follows through.
After college, Brett Whiteman returned to his family farm in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia. He raises beef cattle, corn, and soybeans, and says it's always alarming when agriculture products are mentioned in trade disputes.
Soybeans are the most concerning just because of the volume of consumption that China has. They are the largest consumer of soybeans in the world, and we are the largest producer of soybeans in the world.
China is threatening tariffs as high as 25% on more than 100 American products, including everything Whiteman raises, along with wheat, cotton, and cranberries. The threat of tariffs and fears of a trade war come at a critical time for farmers as they prepare to plant their crops and add a layer of uncertainty to an industry that, let's face it, could really do without it.
Commodity prices have dropped by over 40%. Net farm incomes have dropped by 50%.
U.S. agriculture depends on trade, which accounts for 20% of farm profits. Of the $140 billion in agriculture exports last year, China was America's biggest customer. Secretary of Agriculture Sonny Perdue tells CBN News China's tariff threats are a big deal, but says farmers he's talked to appreciate the president's willingness to stand up for them.
They're patriots. They understand China had to be called on for cheating and called out. They understand they're vulnerable, but they also believe the president's going to take care of them.
President Trump has authorized Perdue to use all the powers at his disposal to come up with a package to help farmers if China's threats affect their bottom lines.
We're working on a package, and there are authorities here within the Secretary of USDA in order to utilize programs and funds that would support farmers if they are harmed and damaged by trade disputes.
Beijing already signaled it's willing to deal when officials reduced tariffs on imported cars and improved protections of intellectual property. Secretary Perdue is hopeful his aid package will never have to be opened.
They'd much rather have a fair price for a good crop than any type of government payments.
Whiteman also sells crop insurance to farmers in Virginia, West Virginia, and Maryland. And among them, he says, there's one unifying principle.
We are in favor of free trade. The American producer is incredibly good at producing corn and soybeans. And if there's demand out there, we typically meet and exceed it almost to our own demise. So we want to keep that demand up and eliminate anything that might inhibit our products from going anywhere in the world where people might need them.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Mount Jackson, Virginia.
An up-close and personal look at how a potential trade war potentially affects everyday Americans. Pat?
Well, you know, those Chinese are pretty clever at knowing how they can hurt us. They know those exports that are the most vulnerable. They know the ones that they take the most of, and if they can want to tit for tat with the president, they know how to do it. So this can hurt us badly if there's a tariff on soybeans and farm products. But somehow they'll work it out. But the president, I mean, he likes to take it right to the edge, but I think really what he's done has been very successful. I know there's a lot of bluster involved, but that's part of the game when you're in a high-stakes battle. You put your foot out there, and they put theirs out, and they play back and forth, and then finally they make a deal. That's the whole idea. So just remember, you're dealing with the man who wrote the book, The Art of the Deal. John.
Pat, a third federal judge, this one here in Washington, has ruled against the Trump administration's decision to end DACA, the program that protects young illegal immigrants brought to the United States as children. Judge John Bates went further than previous rulings, saying the government now has to accept new applications for the program in addition to renewals. But the judge did give the White House 90 days to better explain its reasons for canceling DACA before its decision is implemented. And Pat, as you said earlier in the show, this comes as a blow to the Trump administration.
Well, it does indeed, and we don't really understand what that judge is coming from, but I think that particular judge is a Republican. He's not some left-wing ideologue, but Trump said basically Congress needs to fix it. It's not his, it's Congress. And Congress hasn't fixed it, so I don't know why the message is to the president, you've got to make the move in the next 90 days, because the president was saying the law doesn't accommodate DACAs. I'm for DACAs. We all are. I think these young people who've come here and are living a life here, they need to be accommodated. But Congress needs to move on it.